Boxing King Media in association with Boxro. We're in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, the Skill Challenge headquarters, a huge announcement, something that nobody saw coming. I spoke to you before the event, Amer, and I asked you, is it Wilder, is it Devin Haney? Because they're the names I was thinking, they're the names that were going around online. Nobody in the world expected Alexander Usyk. How on earth did you keep this a secret, and how did you pull this off?
Well, look, I mean, when you deal with professionals, everything should be kept secret. I believe in negotiations should never be public. You know, any kind of turmoil or inside problems that you have should never be made public. And certainly when you want to make an announcement like this, you have a trusted group of individuals and professionals that can keep it all private. So the privacy wasn't a big issue whatsoever. And anybody that really, even named it and guessed it on social media, it was just pure speculation. It was never leaked out.
Just tell me, when were the first discussions made? When did the ball start rolling with the Usyk?
Prince Khalid, when we looked at different names of how to sign and the strategy behind different fighters and what we can do with them, Usyk's name was always on that list. But there were some things that we had to get through and to kind of landscape what the future would look like, because when you have a versatile and dynamic fighter like Alexander, who can fight at heavyweight and do very well, obviously you've seen what he's done at cruiserweight very well, you have a lot of options when that opens up. So we've had our eye on Alexander for a while, and as soon as it really got serious and Prince Khalid wanted to execute, it was a very quick phone call. Called Alex, called Aegis. We met out in London. The meeting took 4 minutes, 5 minutes, shook hands, and we were on our way. It's very easy to do work with those guys.
Interesting stuff. And what is the plan? Obviously, he's got Daniel Dubois in August. Will Skill Challenge be part of that promotion? And then what is the plan after that?
Yeah, so the promotion, in August, K2 won the first bid. Of course, that'll be a co-promotion with Skill Challenge. That'll be our first fight with him. And he's got his hands full. I mean, Dubois is not a walk in the park. We hope and we anticipate that Alexander gets past that test, but that's not it's not an easy fight. And then, of course, we're talking about December. Everybody knows that we're talking about it. We're serious about it. And we'll see what happens. But, Gul, boxing is a 6-month sport. You can't really plan for more than 6 months. I don't know what's going to happen with Fury, who he fights, and what the outcome of that is. I don't know what's going to happen with AJ. I don't know what's going to happen with Wilder. We hope and we anticipate that everybody comes out victorious and, of course, unscathed and healthy, so that we can stage something big in December. But nothing is done. Nothing is concrete. We have interest in the fight. Of course, Prince Khalid, backed by the kingdom, has the resources to do it. It's a matter of if everybody can come to the table and do what's best for the fighters, for the fans. I keep using that slogan over and over, but really that's what it is. The business makes sense. Nothing should prevent that fight from happening.
But talking of that particular fight, I saw Eddie Hearn mentioned in an interview yesterday, and he said Tyson Fury is demanding 120 million. Is that true, or is that Eddie Hearn maybe exaggerating the number?
I can't speak on any numbers because there have been no numbers. No numbers have been discussed for this recent promotion. I'll be very clear about that. No numbers have been offered on our end. No numbers have been demanded on the other end for this fight. What happened before, what happened previously, that's history. Moving forward, there's no numbers on the table.
Frank Warren did an interview after quite a while, and he basically said that he was promised an offer would be made for Fury versus Usyk, which kind of backs up what you're saying there as well. He's saying no offer's been made. So why is that, and when will an offer be made officially for that, do you think?
Again, we're going to look at the landscape. If we do a deal for December and these guys end up fighting whoever they fight and it doesn't work out, then it doesn't make sense for anybody. We're going to see how this landscape sets, and we'll make the offer. The offer will be a very good offer. It'll be, as Prince Khalid does it, big, bold, real, and whoever's going to come to the table, it's going to be the offer, and it'll be a take it or leave it deal. And if not, we have other options. Assalamu alaikum, bro. Thank you, bro.
And just from their point of view, I think the worry on their side is that they might not get this interim fight. Is it on your part? Have you got to get this fight over the line? Because obviously both fighters are looking to have a interim fight, and they don't want to wait until December just in case that falls through, and then maybe they've not fought for nearly a year.
Look, as a fighter myself, I know what it's like to wait, and I know what it's like not to have a schedule, and especially these guys at this caliber and at this elite level. These guys are champions. They need to be active. To tell a fighter from April or from February we have a fight in December, so just sit on the sideline and wait. It's a very difficult ask to make of a fighter, and arguably so. I mean, they want to be having touch-ups. The question is, what kind of a touch-up are you going to take along that way that's not going to jeopardize a massive fight in December? And that's something that them and their teams will have to decide. Tyson Fury has a lot of options out there, and he has a great team in George and Frank that will, I'm sure, advise him and try to set things up for him. AJ's got a great team, and Frank and Eddie to be able to, and Freddie to be able to put something together for him and get him to December. And of course AJ with Al and Shelley, and now with USYK, we just have to make sure these guys get to December, and whatever they're going to do, let's get through it. Hopefully they come out, like I said, healthy, unscathed, victorious, and we'll talk about December.
We've seen AJ come out on social media, and he's kind of showed that he doesn't seem very happy with people talking about his fights when he says there's nothing signed and sealed. Dillian Whyte's come out and said he's ready to fight August 12th, I think is the date. So just on your part, response to what AJ is saying, he's showing his frustration in the fights not getting made, and also the fact that the challenge of Dillian Whyte, not a gimme fight, it's a really hard fight.
AJ is a seasoned guy, and he's been at the top of the sport, and he's been the pinnacle of the heavyweight division for a long time. At this point, he should probably get accustomed to people talking about him negatively or positively, promising fights, talking about all of these things that are happening. But you can criticize AJ as much as you want until you actually walk a mile in his shoes and be able to handle the pressure that he deals with, handle the adversity he deals with, being talked about, it's not easy being in those shoes. So I can't speak on that. If the man feels a certain way, let him talk about it. And if he feels annoyed that people are promising things, let him talk about it. And you know how the rumor mill in boxing is, Ghoul. People want to talk, people want to break stories, whether they're true or untrue. It's the nature of the sport, unfortunately. And sometimes it takes a statement like AJ to come forward and say, man, you guys are all BSing it. But look, I don't fault Dillian Whyte. He'd hit the AJ lotto. Why wouldn't he want to do that? Why wouldn't these guys want to fight the AJs of the world and the Usyks of the world and the Furies of the world and the Deontay's of the world? Man, you get a payday. How many people were gunning for Floyd? How many people were promised that they were in discussions with Floyd? You hit the Mayweather lotto and you're great. So let the man talk. He's got feelings. He's got a lot of pressure on him. At this stage of his career, he had a phenomenal legacy, and I hope that it ends very positively for him. I'm a big fan of AJ's.
And then the obvious question is, what is plan B? Let's just say if Dillian Whyte wins or Dubois wins, does it ruin the plans you guys have got in December?
I can't speak on that. That's a Prince Khalid call. After it happens, him and I will sit in a room and we'll put out our options, and he'll let me know the direction that he wants to go in, and we'll execute. So I can't speak on that. I have my own personal feelings, but that's not substantial at this point when Prince Khalid puts his decision forward.
And then talking of big events, we've seen Eddie Hearn talk about Conor Benn versus Chris Eubank Jr., which should draw huge eyes considering the highlight that's been on top of that fight with all the publicity around Conor's failed test, etc. Would you guys ever be interested in staging that fight? Because I know the talk has been about staging in Abu Dhabi, but that's the kind of stuff you guys are interested in, yeah?
We hope that it lands. If it lands in Abu Dhabi, then that's phenomenal. Anywhere in the region would be great. Anywhere in the world that it lands is great. Look, again, from a prize fighter perspective, these guys got to feed their families. This is how they make their living. So I always am a big fan of anybody that's going to pay them the most. Go shop it around. Go shop. It doesn't have to be in Saudi. It doesn't have to be in the Middle East. It doesn't have to be in O2 or anywhere else in the world. Go shop where it makes the most sense for them. The fight's a good fight. I hope that the legalities of Conor's tests are subsidized at this point. I don't know what the latest is with the British board and what they ruled on. I know VADA and them kind of conflicted on things, but that could be problematic to put a fight together. And you'll always hear the voices and the chippering of all of that, but that's okay if he's clean and with most sources saying that he is, and there's interest in the fight, and there's people willing to make the fight. There's two things that make fights. It's timing and money. So if that makes sense, man, pull the trigger. It's a great fight.
Last two questions. You mentioned, you kind of dropped a hint there, there's more signings coming. Are they going to be as big as USYK, or are you looking more like fighters on the way up?
Well, they're going to be both. There are some big names that we're looking to sign, some big fights that we're looking to stage, and there's also some very hot prospects I know Sam Jones has got some great prospects. I know that there's a lot of other managers. Aegis has got a lot of great prospects. There's a lot of great guys that are out there that we're going to be looking at, and they're on my radar. We have a great relationship with everybody, and if it fits and it makes sense, we'd love to work with them.
A last question about yourself, Amer. You're kind of recognizing boxing now as a face alongside Eddie Hearn, Frank Warren, the guys in America as well. So how are you finding that on a personal level from being a fighter to now being, I know you're not a promoter by title, but that's how the fans are seeing you. How are you finding all that responsibility?
The responsibility is different than the limelight. The limelight, it's indifferent to me. If you say that you use the Amer Abdallah word in the same sentence with Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren and Bob Arum and Don King and Oscar De La Hoya and Leonard Ellerby and Al Heyman, that's an honor to me to be in that sentence with those guys, because they've all done phenomenal work in the sport of boxing. Lou DiBella, there's so many people in boxing that have done so much. So thank you for that. I appreciate that, if that's the question. Secondly, the responsibility, that's a whole different element. I pinch myself, and when I say pinch myself from a perspective of business, my goals when I first got into boxing, as a fan of boxing, of where I am today. I don't take this position lightly. I'm the director of boxing for Skill Challenge Promotions, which represents the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and we have great relationships with Prince or Sheikh Fahad Al Thani of Qatar, which we'll be doing events with as well, and we have a great relationship with them. Prince Khalid and Sheikh Fahad have a wonderful relationship, and I was just there last week and had a great catch up with Sheikh. You're going to see a lot of great boxing happen. So when you say responsibility, that weighs on me. That weighs on me a lot. And it's not a responsibility that I don't feel, God willing, that I can fulfill, but I still have to make sure that I stay humbled enough and, realistic enough of the tremendous responsibility that bears, because it is massive.
I think it is. The reason I wanted to point it out is because we see from different people from different backgrounds, they always inspire the next generation. I know you've got Palestinian background, so surely the people of Palestine, there might be some young Palestinian kid watching this saying, this guy's made it, he's gone to America, done this, etc. So hopefully you're an inspiration to the next generation of young Palestinians as well.
Well, alhamdulillah. We say alhamdulillah, meaning all praise to God through the good, through the bad, through the challenging times, because I've had them. I've had, very low times in my career. I've had very high times in my career. And I'd like to think that this is one of the high times in my career. But the most important thing to me is I always had faith in Allah. I had faith in God's plan for what I was doing, through the harsh times, through the rough waters, through the easy times. And I always believed in myself. I always knew that what I stood for and who I was, and me aligning with Prince Khalid. I'm grateful that he was able to see that also, and he's got a vision like nobody else I've ever seen, and he's aggressive to do it. And sometimes we just get crazy in the office when we start talking these ideas, and we just laugh about it. But have faith, believe in yourself, and eliminate all the toxic stuff around you, and just go after it and get it. That's it.
Inspiring words, Amer Abdallah. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thank you always for anything. Cool.